When I choose a book, one of the first things I like to read is the author biography. I like to get to know a bit more about the writer. Why did he write this character? Why did he set the book there, use this theme, storyline? And often you find when you read about the author that there's some kind of connection between their real life and what they put into their fiction. And I've certainly found over the years that various aspects of my own life have crept into my work, both good and bad. Now, I started writing before I even went to school. I was probably about 3. My first book is called Bee and Butty and Mouse, published by Bee Books. And this was a collaboration with my grandmother Dee. I dictated the story, she wrote it down, and I illustrated it. And I continued writing and illustrating books for myself throughout all my years at primary school. I had one huge project which was a world peopled by my toys. And I had another one which I never wrote down, but it was a sort of very dark fairy tale world. And I used to tell myself stories about it, and I knew all the people in it intimately, though I never wrote any of these down. They were just to help me pass the time at school when I was bored. And then in secondary school, I started developing short stories. And usually for a starting point, I was using my local environment of West Cornwall, the geography and the folklore down here, and there's certainly a lot of stuff in Cornwall that you can write about. And one of them actually came from a very strange experience I had myself when I was 13, but that's a story for another day. And I entered one of these short stories in for a competition run by the Cornish Gorseth, which was for 12 to 18-year-olds. And I was 12, I won the category and got myself a silver cup. And over the next few years, I carried on writing short stories and working on a collection of my own. I entered these into competitions and I won a few prizes, but it was mostly about getting together a portfolio of work. After I left school, this collection of short stories was in fact used in some of the local primary schools as a teaching aid for English. So I wrote my first novel at 16, which was an expanded version of a short story, and I describe it as folk horror. Back then I called it Dracula Meets the Wicker Man. So I didn't get to write my second novel till I was doing my MA in creative writing in Bath, which is where I was living at the time. And then when I finished that degree, I got a job in the hospital in Bath, in the NHS. And hospitals are amazing places. They are full of so many stories, good and bad, sad, funny, painful, almost unbelievable. Hospitals are little worlds in their own. Read the first few paragraphs of Jed Mercurio's Bodies and you'll see what I mean. I learnt so much from my time in the NHS because I heard so many stories from the medics that I was working with, the other hospital staff, the patient stories. And then after 10 years in Bath, I came back to Cornwall, and the next one was another hospital, and I was still working in the NHS, slightly different role, but this one kind of followed on a little bit from the first one. I've got 2 children now, and until I had my girls, I didn't realise how much like grubby little fairies small children can be. So it's kind of appropriate that I wrote a lot of Oberon Out, my take on A Midsummer Night's Dream, with my baby daughter beside me. When she was born, the book was nowhere near finished, and I set myself the job of writing 1,000 words a night with her sleeping beside me. I did just that, and the book got done. I like to write about things that are special to me or that I'm interested in. Some of the things I've written about include butterflies and moths, folklore, art, special places, specialist teas, guinea pigs. They've inspired quite a few things. But I also like to use my writing to draw attention to things that perhaps aren't so nice. One of these was in Oberon Out, and that is the now discredited Liverpool death pathway as used in the NHS. Because I've always had an interest in medicine and surgery, I like to give my characters medical problems, but I prefer to use ones that are perhaps glossed over or not used in fiction very much, things that are maybe a bit unglamorous. So I've looked at debilitating skin disease and stomas and smoking-related cancer and tracheostomies. I've had to do some research for some of these, and I've been amazed at the bravery and the humour that I've encountered with these people. I'm not afraid to write about these subjects. In one of my medical books, Vital Signs, I have a teenager who has terrible Crohn's disease, and one of the more harrowing scenes is what happens to her when she's taken ill on a night out with her friends. I've written 9 novels, and the first one that was published is Oberon Out, but I am at the moment negotiating with another publisher for the next book, which is called The XY Factor. And this one begins with the total solar eclipse of 1999, which was a truly unforgettable event for those of us in Cornwall lucky enough to see it, and I saw it from my own garden. And like all authors, I never stop working. I'm constantly looking for ideas and wondering what I'm going to do next. And I'm now starting to plan a new book which will be in a similar vein to the XY Factor. It will look at families and relationships, tragedies and secrets in a contemporary setting in Cornwall. If you'd like to know more about Oberon Out, there is a separate video about that which includes some readings from the book. I'd be very happy to hear any comments and questions you may have. I hope to hear from you and that you enjoy what I do.